30, there's a live look outside this morning. Going to be a fantastic day here in the nation's capital. But let's move to another neighborhood right now. The neighborhood of Sesame Street, which has announced a new character. Meet Jawlia. Jawlia has autism. Now, the show has launched a new initiative. It is called See Amazing in All Children. It was designed to destigmatize autism, which now affects 1 in 68 children in America. The new character is sure to bring a positive impact to parents and children affected by autism. But let's learn a little bit more about that. Joining us now from New York this morning to talk about it, Michael Rosanoff, the Director of Public Health Research for Autism Speaks. Good to see you this morning, Michael.
Good morning, Steve.
So talk about, first of all, the new character, Jawlia, what Sesame Street is rolling out. Good idea or not?
We love Jawlia. The whole idea behind her is to teach children, everyday children in the classroom, on the playground, what it is to have a friend with autism and what children with autism are like. Essentially learning that children with autism are not that much dissimilar from themselves. The whole idea here is to reduce stigma among a very open-minded population, children.
So when it comes to children with autism, Michael, we know that there are certainly different ways that people act, react, are with autism, different levels, different severities. So how can a character like Jawlia kind of bring all of this together? And how do we expect that, Jawlia will be acting and interacting with the other characters on the show?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, no two individuals with autism are exactly alike. And you hit the nail on the head in that the varying degree of severity of symptoms is a challenge to making a single character with autism. But I think from what we've seen on Sesame Street, Jawlia is a fantastic example of some of the more common symptoms and signs of autism, and teaching other children how to perhaps work with that child and work around those signs and symptoms to become their friend and to be able to interact with them in a way that works well for everybody on the playground or, again, in the classroom.
Okay, just looking at this on the surface right now, Jawlia obviously is a little girl. Is autism still much more prevalent in little boys these days?
Yes, we've seen the prevalence of autism somewhere around 4 times more common in boys than girls. But that's exactly why Jawlia being a girl is so important. We can't forget that girls also have autism. And so, again, Jawlia is an example of raising awareness about autism and increasing our understanding of what autism is, getting rid of some of those misconceptions that autism just affects boys, for example.
All right, let's talk a little bit about what autism is, because we mentioned about 1 in 68 children right now. Those numbers, unfortunately, we see that number changing over time, but we're also learning more about it. Maybe more about causes, maybe more about treatment. Where do we stand right now when it comes to autism?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge question that you've asked. And in terms of prevalence, we've seen it increase from about 1 in 150 just 10 years ago to 1 in 68 today. And we may still be underestimating that number. What's important to note, though, is that we're getting better at identifying individuals with autism. And because of that, we can now get services to individuals with autism more rapidly. We're working very hard to make evidence-based services that exist today more available to those individuals and their families that are in need. What we can't forget, though, is that autism does not just affect children, it also affects adults. So I think we still have a lot to do in terms of making sure everybody has access to the services that they need. But we're making breakthroughs every day on a scientific level in terms of understanding perhaps some of the causes of autism and how to better treat it.
Let's bring this full circle, Michael, and come back around to Jawlia right now in Sesame Street. Do you think that she'll impact more of the youngsters themselves, or maybe the parents, maybe stir some of that conversation between the two? Where do you think that greatest impact will be?
There's a reason why Autism Speaks has been working with Sesame Street on this campaign. Sesame Street's been a mainstay in our homes for more than 40 years. So children are watching it, parents are watching it, and parents watched it as children. This is reaching such a broad community, and that's one of the reasons why we love it. We just hope Sesame Street uses Jawlia beyond just some of the web material. We'd love to see an actual character on the show. We think there's so much potential to reducing stigma around autism, again, among children who are going to be the future leaders of this country. We want to make sure that those individuals are able to work with the autism community and empower the autism community as well.
And that's the key. As you mentioned, Jawlia will just be on the digital platform right now. We'll see where that goes in the future on Sesame Street. Michael, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Steve. My pleasure.
You're welcome. It's 8:35 right now.
Let's go back out to Tucker now. He's being scared straight at Markov's haunted forest.